This is Steve Pауэрс. I'd like to introduce you to a special guest. His name is Шри Чинмой, and I guess together we will find out about his philosophies and his teachings. Basically, he is what is known as a guru, a teacher, spiritual leader, to a number of people around the world. They have spiritual centers in various countries, including here in the United States and one here in New York. In his life, he spent about 20 years in a spiritual community. He teaches his followers that they should be involved in everyday life and not withdraw from life just for a spiritual life, which is interesting because there are some spiritual leaders who believe that you should not, for example, go to work every day and live a normal life with your family, and you have to retreat from that in order to live spiritually. And his teachings also embrace all religions. He advocates that you continue on with your own specific religion while following a spiritual way. Now, it is not every day that you get an opportunity to talk to a guru and ask him questions. Today is that day, though. You can dial 489-1155. And also, later in the program, if Shri Чинмой agrees, perhaps he can do some readings of your soul for you, which should be interesting, especially to you, right? Because you've probably been wondering what's going on back there. Welcome.
Thank you.
I guess a basic question is, when did you first feel great spirituality so that you wanted to devote your life to this spiritual life?
When I was quite young, I felt deep within me an inner urge to realize God and to be of service to God.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that that is within every man?
Yes, it is within every man. Only the thing is that one has to cultivate this reality. It is like a muscle power. If you take exercise, regular exercise, then we develop the muscle.
Why is that not more natural to us? Why shouldn't that just come naturally?
It comes naturally, but the difficulty is that we have been wallowing in the pleasures of ignorance for millennia. Then there comes a time when we start walking along the right path, road. Then once we are well established on our path, it becomes normal, spontaneous.
Why do we have so much problem finding that path? I mean, especially in our society today, people are awfully confused and don't know which way to go, what to believe in, what not to believe in, what is truth, what is not truth, what is good, what is evil. And there's such a tremendous input, constant input into our minds of new ideas and departures that it's difficult for us to know what's good and what is not.
Unfortunately, most of the people are living in the mind. See, in the mind, the question of good and bad and divine and undivine thoughts play considerable role. But if we live in the heart, where we find oneness and identification, then we go beyond the duality. We suffer from confusion. We live in confusion because we live most of the time in the mind, in the doubting mind, suspicious mind, intellectual mind, sophisticated mind, whereas we can live in the heart, in the loving heart, in the aspiring heart, in the oneness heart, then this confusion will not arise.
You're not anti-intellectual as such, are you? You do believe in the intellect.
I do believe in intellect. I have tremendous faith in intellect. But intellect as such, which at the present time, intellectuals criticize the feelings, inner feelings. Most of the intellects adopt a snobbish attitude. But the divine light has to play its role inside the intellect. It is not that I'm saying the intellects are bad or the intellectuals are bad or the intellect is very bad. But right now, the intellect does not care for the light that illumines the world. Mm-hmm. They are satisfied with what they have, and they have got a superior sense of reality. Means at times they look down upon those who live in the heart and who feel the necessity of the heart. But if the intellectuals feel the necessity of the light that we see in abundant measure in the heart, and they want to embrace that light, then I feel that they are also doing the same thing.
I guess in line, a question similar to this is that many people get up in the morning, they face the day, I guess swallow a quick breakfast, leave the house, wash up, run out of the house, go to their commuter line or subway, get to work, and are so involved with survival in this everyday life. And I'm sure you're not so far remote from reality that you do know about recession, and you do know about inflation, and you do know about the high cost of living and bringing up a family in any half-decent way, if it's at all possible. And before the end of the day, it's pretty tough to sit back and take a spiritual aspect of what's going on, because you have to go out there and hustle. You have to earn a living. Do you have any method of being able to do both? Is there a way of folding the spiritual life into that of what we call, I guess, the economic life?
Thank you. Our philosophy is the philosophy of wisdom. First thing first. Now we see that most of the human beings are wanting in peace of mind. They enter into the hustle and bustle of life right in the morning, and then during the whole day, they do not have even an iota of peace. So we feel that if you can do the first thing first, early in the morning, if you can pray to God for a few minutes, that means we are doing the first thing first. We take breakfast and then we go to office. First thing we do is the breakfast and then we go to the office. But before breakfast, if we think of God, we think of money power, because we feel it is the money power, material wealth, keeps us alive. But the spiritual people feel that it is not the material power, it is the inner power, spiritual power, the inner being within us, God, the Almighty Father, has to be invoked first. If He is satisfied with us, if He is pleased with us, then He will grant us peace of mind. And once we have peace of mind, no matter where we go, where we enter into, we will feel a sense of satisfaction. Right now, satisfaction is a far cry. Whereas in the morning, early in the morning, if you pray to God, meditate on God for a few minutes, then you get peace of mind to some extent. And this peace of mind is undoubtedly true satisfaction in life.
Do you believe that God provides?
God does provide. He is the creator and He is the creation. How can we separate the creator from the creation? When you write a poem or when you compose a song, we feel our identification and oneness with the creation itself. So God has created us, and how can He separate us from His own reality?
You're listening to Shri Чинмой, and we are going to take phone calls at 489-1155. Your questions, comments, 489-1155, and we shall do that in a moment or so. Each day about 155. I'm Steve Pауэрс, and our guest for this segment is Shri Чинмой, a guru and spiritual leader who is based here in New York, but who has disciples around the world and also holds, for example, meditations at the United Nations. He has a special meditation coming up later this month. I guess he'll tell us about that later. Right now, let's go to our phones. Good morning. You're live on WMCA.
I'm on the air now?
Yes, sir.
Hello, Shri Чинмой. I have 3 questions. My first one, which doesn't have to be answered first, it's up to you, is I would like to know about my soul consciousness. The second one is, can a person find God if they don't have a guru, but they seek to see God everywhere in all things, and they practice praying to the highest and also meditating and do this with sincerity, will they be able to achieve a full awakening of their higher consciousness?
May I answer this question first?
I'm sorry?
May I answer this question?
Oh, yes. All right. Please.
It is not absolutely necessary for a seeker to have a guru, teacher, but one has to be extremely sincere and devoted to the cause, that is to say, to his own aspiration. He who realized God for the first time on earth did not have a human guru. So you do not need a guru provided you have a very sincere, devoted, inner mounting cry. But we feel that if one has a guru, a teacher, then the teacher expedites the student's journey. We go to school and the teacher helps us in our studies. Therefore, he accelerates our own progress. This is the reason why we say that it is better to have a guru. But if one says that he does not feel the necessity of having a guru, he can do it all by himself, and his sincerity incarnate and aspiration is all the time burning inside his heart, then I don't think he needs a guru.
Did you want to comment on his soul? And I was wondering how you can get a sensation or feeling from someone on a phone. Is it from the voice?
It is from the voice, and by contacting with his soul. Only I used to tell you, Mr. Powers, if I tell him the consciousness of his soul, I believe there will be many who will ask me only that question, and I will not be able to answer any other question, because everybody will be, you have put me unfortunately into difficulty, because everybody will ask me the same question, what their soul look like and how they are doing, I may answer it, but I may get the similar questions from others.
Uh-huh. So would you prefer to take other kinds of questions now?
Yes, if you kindly allow me to.
Okay. I have this other question, and that is, two other ones, and that is, could one study with more than one guru at a time and learn good things from them?
No, it is not advisable for a seeker to have more than one guru, especially at one time. God realization is one subject, and each teacher is right in his own way. But the student will be confused precisely because each teacher has a specific way to teach the student. It is not like a history, geography, science, botany, and other subjects that one needs for each subject a teacher. One teacher is more than enough, but the seeker has to feel the necessity of this teacher who pleases him most. So I wish to advise you to have only one teacher, for one teacher is more than enough to help a student to reach the highest.
Well, when I choose a particular guru, do I practice in looking at him as a person, or do I try to see him as just a pure channel of God and not as an individual, you might say?
If you have a teacher, then it is best for you to look at the teacher as a channel, as an instrument of God. You are an instrument of God, and your teacher is also an instrument of God. But the difference is here that this teacher has become a conscious instrument of God, whereas right now you are an unconscious instrument of God. So by listening to the teacher, you become eventually a conscious instrument of God as the teacher is right now.
I thank you for calling. When you say, Shri Чинмой, that someone should look at his guru as an instrument of God, and that he is an instrument of God too, are you saying that he should accept whatever the guru tells him without question?
It depends on his faith. Entirely, if he has implicit faith in the teacher, if he feels the teacher is really sincere, I don't want him to make a mistake, blunder, by blindly following him when he does not have implicit faith in his master. Mm-hmm. If he has implicit faith in his master, then it is advisable to listen to the master all the time.
WMCA.
Good morning.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I would like to ask your guest whether or not, if it's possible, does he think that the soul can actually leave the body at certain times?
Mm-hmm.
And I had some strange experiences. I've come to the conclusion that my mother passed about 22 years ago, and there's certain things that I do that come really unnaturally for me, but I actually believe that her soul, in some form or fashion, intertwined with mine, and we had some sort of a understanding. I don't know what it might have,
When you say your soul leave your body, do you mean an extra body expression? In other words, that something in you moves away and is able to view your own body?
Right. That's exactly it.
Why do you believe it's the soul?
Well, maybe the spirit. I guess that might be a more appropriate word, but I actually believe that this can happen, and it's happened to me quite a few times.
Shri Чинмой?
You have a special connection with your mother's soul. Sometimes your mother comes and visits you, and sometimes your own soul visits her soul.
How can you say that?
Mm-hmm. How can I say?
Yes.
It is on the strength of my oneness with the universal soul. It is like a subject. Now I know nothing about the radio, about the studio. You are a supreme authority on radio and here at this station. Now, if I ask you anything, you will be able to tell because everything is at your fingers and you have practiced it for so many years, you know everything. Mm-hmm. So here I have also prayed and meditated for many, many years. So it is like a subject. I have studied a subject, and for that I know a bit about that subject. I
was wondering specifically, though, on this call, was there something, in this woman's voice where you were able to give her such a concise answer? Yes, it is a blending of the soul?
Yes, while she was asking me the question, I concentrated my inner vision, my third eye concentrated on her heart. And I got the message even before she completed her question. That's why I was telling.
The third eye being the spiritual...
eye of vision. The third eye can enter into any place, any individual. So I got the message directly from her own heart.
If you wanted to travel someplace physically without moving from here, I guess I should have said if you want to travel someplace spiritually without moving from here, you would be capable of doing so.
Yes, I can do it, and many people can do it. It is not that only spiritual masters can do it. Highly advanced seekers can do it. And also, if it is God's will, most ordinary people can do it.
You could tell, for example, what is happening in your home at this moment.
Certainly.
You can't, certainly.
I can. Again, in my case, if it is God's will, I can say everything. And if it is not God's will, I cannot say anything. Mm-hmm. Even if I know something absolutely sure, and if God does not want me to say, then I do not say. I am at His command. Just because I know something doesn't mean that I am authorized to say.
Our phone number is 489-1155, and our guest is Shri Чинмой. We'll continue in a moment. 489-1155. Good morning. You're live on WMCA.
Good morning. I'd like to ask a question here of your guest. He speaks of a God. What God is he speaking of? Just any God in general, or he's a Jesus, or a God in your soul, a universal type God, or what?
I speak of a God who is both with form and without form. He can be an infinite expanse of energy, and also he can be the most luminous being. So God with form and God without form, I'm referring to.
I guess the caller wanted to know whether you see it in any specific form, such as Jesus or Moses or Buddha.
The God that I see is the source of the Christ, the Buddha, Krishna, and others. He is the source.
And the other thing I wanted to ask was, if you learn these things from the Guru, like peace and surrendering and all that other stuff, right? How do you deal with... Now, you may have peace and surrendering in your own mind and heart, but how do you deal with people in the street that are not the same way?
The thing is, if you practice what I am practicing, by practicing, I get peace of mind. And if you get peace of mind, this way, the number increases Today you get peace of mind, tomorrow your friends, your relatives, your acquaintances will get peace of mind. And again, we believe in vibration. When we see a spiritual person, a seeker or a saint, immediately we feel a kind of inner purity inside them, and also we get inspiration from deep within to lead a better life. Then we believe in the theory that birds of a feather flock together. If we become sincere, spiritual, then we shall be mixing with spiritual people and sincere people. So in that way, we can increase the number of good people here on earth.
Thank you for calling, sir.
Well, one thing, he said he would do spiritual readings.
Well, he said he'd prefer not to do it on all of the callers at this time.
See, the one thing I wanted to ask, a very important thing, was he said that when he was talking before the introduction, that he speaks to God, you know? Well, how do you know whether you're speaking to God or it's just, you know, you're speaking to yourself and saying it's God?
Okay, that question will have to just be delayed a moment or so because we have to take a short break and meet the realities of a network newscast, all right? On Dialogue Radio.
Right, thank you. Now, satisfaction is the only thing that you want, he wants, and I want. Satisfaction is of paramount importance. Now, I have eaten a mango. And now, if I am satisfied, then it is more than enough for me. Now, if you say, how do you know that you have eaten a mango? Then my answer will be, if you want to see it, next time if I want to eat, you be my guest. I will invite you and be with me and see whether I am eating a mango or not, or I am fooling myself or fooling you.
In other words, experience it in part yourself.
Yes. If you go to a history professor and ask him to teach you, then he will tell you that come and sit. And you have to have some basic knowledge about history. Then only the professor will be able to teach you. Similarly, here I am a spiritual teacher, and if somebody comes and tells me, how do you know that you have realized God? Then I will ask that person, and come with the basic knowledge, which is called basic requisites, sincerity and purity. You come to me with sincerity and purity and meditate with me for a few minutes, then I shall make you feel what I am saying is true or not.
I think the question that was not asked by this caller was one based on fear that, in effect, if I become sensitive and mellow and spiritual, will I not get eaten up on the streets by the sharks? Do you know what I mean by that?
I know. But when we identify ourselves with a higher reality, how can we be destroyed? How can he be devoured? A child identifies himself with his father. Father is strong, stout, man of knowledge. Then he feels that he is quite safe. Nothing will harm him because his father is there. On the strength of his own oneness with his father, the child feels he is quite safe. He can go anywhere he wants to because he has a father with knowledge, wisdom, strength, capacity, and everything. So here also, if one practices spirituality, then one is consciously identifying himself with the highest good, with the omnipotent power. Then how can he be devoured in the street? Identification solves all our problems. If we identify ourselves with a higher source, with a higher reality, that higher reality definitely has enormous power, boundless power, then how can it be destroyed? Oneness is strength. United we stand, divided we fall. If you are one, if I am one with you, then how can you destroy me? Just because I am not one with you, you can do some harm to me.
On a very practical level, being what you are, does it disturb you to go into a high crime area at 3 o'clock in the morning and walk the streets?
Not in the least. And as I said before, if it is God's will, definitely I will go there, because it is all in human consciousness. Some people have allowed themselves to be attacked by these forces, whereas wrong forces, let us say, whereas others do not allow the wrong forces to enter into them. So if it is God's will, and I will see inside those people the presence of God.
Good morning. You're live on WMCA.
Good morning. May I ask your guest? I have tried for several years to become a more spiritual person in my own way with very little knowledge of it. It's only in recent times that this has come to light to most people through the media. But somehow I had a book and became interested in it long before it became so-called popular. But because of my own lifestyle, I have lived a very quiet life and had a lot of time. I've had one or two experiences which have frightened me. I don't understand them, and yet I believe in them. And I would like to ask Shri how I could possibly continue to further my knowledge and to develop myself so that I can experience more.
Frank, it is a matter of sincerity. How sincerely, how earnestly, and how desperately you need to go beyond the experiences that you have already had. So if you could continue practicing spirituality, which you have been doing for a number of years, then I assure you, you will make progress. It is a matter of regular practice. You have to practice regularly, soulfully, and devotedly what you have been doing. And it is your regular practice that eventually will give you higher and deeper satisfaction by granting you new experiences.
I thank you for calling. You know, Shri Чинмой, I know people who are most kind and gentle people and yet have no belief in God or no spirituality at all. And yet they seem to be fine human beings. They do not know what you're talking about. Do they need realization of what you're talking about, from your point of view?
From my point of view, they do need realization. They are kind, they are good, they are sympathetic, their hearts are magnanimous, they are sincere, they are pure. These are the divine qualities they have got from the highest source. But this is not enough. They need conscious, complete, and eternal oneness with the source. Unless and until they have well established their conscious oneness with the source, they will not be satisfied. Somebody is sincere, but with his sincerity, he is not totally satisfied. Somebody is pure. With his purity, he is not totally satisfied. Sincerity is an excellent thing. Purity is an excellent thing in our life. But these are not enough. These things do not or cannot complete our human illumination. For the total illumination, we need conscious and constant oneness. Conscious and constant oneness with the higher source.